I'm Angela, 36, and after a decade of grinding as an event planner, I finally bought my dream vacation home, a sleek beachfront retreat in Cannon Beach, Oregon. It was my sanctuary, my proof that hard work pays off. So when my sister Brittany, 28, begged to use it for a week to shoot a promo video, I said yes against every gut instinct. I came back to a nightmare: $25,000 in damaged, torn sofas, shattered art, my grandmother's heirloom table scorched beyond repair. But the real gut punch. My mom Shirley shrugged it off, saying, "Brittany's just chasing her dreams, Angela. You can handle this." That betrayal lit a fire in me. I wasn't just cleaning up Brittany's mess, I was done being the family doormat. What I did next, sending mom that bill, flipped our family upside down in ways they never saw coming. Before I share how my entitled family faced the consequences, tell me where you're watching from and hit subscribe if you've ever had to confront family who took you for granted. Growing up in Portland, Oregon, I was the kid who had to figure things out fast. By 15, I was bussing tables at a diner after school, saving every penny for college while my friends hit the mall. My sister Brittany, 8 years younger, got a different deal. When she was 6 and spilled nail polish on my favorite jacket, Mom Shirley laughed it off, saying, "She's just being creative." At 10, Brittany borrowed my bike and crashed it into a fence. Dad Howard just shrugged. Kids make mistakes. That set the tone early. I was the responsible one, and Brittany could do no wrong. Our family wasn't rich. Mom was a nurse. Dad managed an auto shop, but they always had enough to bail Brittany out. Me, I learned to fend for myself. In high school, I juggled honor classes and 2 part-time jobs, determined to make something of my life. Brittany, meanwhile, coasted through, charming her way out of trouble. Teachers loved her smile. Mom loved her free spirit. I didn't hate her, but the double standards stung. Like when I saved for months to buy a camera at 17, only for Brittany to play with it and break the lens. Mom's response: "You're strong, Angela. You'll get another." I did, but I worked overtime to replace it. After graduating from the University of Oregon with a degree in hospitality, I moved to Seattle for an entry-level job at an event planning firm. Those early years were brutal: long hours, picky clients, and a shoebox apartment I could barely afford. I'd plan weddings and corporate galas until midnight, then crash on a second-hand couch, dreaming of a life I could call my own. By 28, I'd clawed my way to senior planner, managing million-dollar events for tech startups. The pay was good, but I had bigger plans. Since I was a kid, I'd wanted a place to escape, somewhere that was mine. I spent years scrolling real estate sites, driving up the Oregon coast on weekends looking for the perfect spot. At 33, I founded a modern beachfront home in Cannon Beach with floor-to-ceiling windows and a deck overlooking the Pacific. It wasn't just a house, it was my victory. I'd poured my heart into it, picking every detail: custom leather sofas, abstract art on the walls, a dining table carved from reclaimed wood that reminded me of my grandmother's stories. I even planted a small garden with lavender and seagrass, a nod to the Oregon coast I loved. Every time I walked through that door, I felt like I'd made it, proof I didn't need anyone to hand me anything. Brittany's life looked different. At 28, she was working retail at a boutique in Portland, posting selfies and outfit reels on Instagram, chasing likes and sponsorships. She still lived in Mom's basement, rent-free, while Mom covered her phone bill and car insurance. Brittany wasn't lazy, she had charm and hustle, but she quit anything that got too hard. She'd tried blogging, modeling, even a stint as a barista, but nothing stuck. Mom always had her back, saying, "Brittany's finding her path." Dad nodded along, avoiding conflict. I didn't mind helping her now and then, lending her my old laptop for a content creation phase, or spotting her cash for gas. But her lack of accountability grated on me. Last spring, things shifted. Mom and Dad retired, moving to a smaller condo in Portland to stretch their savings. Brittany's retail job wasn't cutting it, and with Mom's wallet tighter, she started calling me more. "Hey sis, can you help with my car payment?" she'd text, or, "Any chance you've got an extra 100? I brushed it off, telling myself, family helps family. but the calls kept coming, each one a little bolder. Then, during a Sunday brunch at Mom's condo, me footing the bill as usual, Brittany dropped her latest idea. "I'm pitching a promo video to this fashion brand," she announced, sipping the mimosa I'd paid for. "It could be my big break, Angela. Your beach house would be the perfect backdrop." Mom's eyes lit up. "That's brilliant. You barely use it in spring anyway." My stomach twisted. That house was my haven, not a film set. Brittany had a history last year. She'd borrowed my apartment for a weekend and left wine stains on my rug. But Mom's voice had that familiar edge, the one that made me feel like the bad guy for saying no. "I don't know," I said, stirring my coffee. "It's not set up for shoots. And I've got rules. No crowds. No mess." Brittany rolled her eyes. "Relax, sis. It's just me and a couple friends. We'll be super careful." Dad, silent as usual, just sipped his juice. Mom leaned in, her tone soft but firm. "Angela, it's family. You've got so much, share a little." That line hit hard. It always did. Against my better judgment, I nodded, feeling the weight of their expectations settle in. I spent the next few days second-guessing myself. Brittany texted constantly, "Can you stock the fridge? Oh, and check the Wi-Fi." I reminded her I'd left a guidebook with every detail: how to work the smart lights, where the spare keys were, the neighbor's number for emergencies. "That's a lot to read," she replied. "Can't you just show me when I get there?" It meant driving 4 hours from Seattle after a 12-hour workday, but I agreed, telling myself it was one weekend. Deep down, I knew better. Brittany's promises were as solid as sand, and I was about to learn that the hard way. I drove down to Cannon Beach that Thursday night, exhausted from a 12-hour workday in Seattle, to prep the house for Brittany. My beachfront retreat was my pride, every detail perfect, from the custom leather sofas to the abstract art I'd spent years collecting. I wasn't thrilled about her using it, but I wanted to trust her. I stocked the fridge with her favorite snacks, set out fresh towels, and even left a bottle of wine as a gesture. Before heading back, I walked her through everything Friday morning. "Brittany, this place is quiet," I said, pointing to the serene ocean view. "No crowds, no loud music, respect the neighbors." I showed her the smart lights, the alarm code, and the guidebook I'd made covering every detail. "Don't mess this up, okay?" She barely glanced up from her phone. "Got it, sis. Chill, I'm not throwing a rave." Her smirk should have been my warning, but I pushed it aside, rushing to catch my flight to Chicago for a client event. Friday night around 10 p.m., my phone buzzed. It was Marilyn Todd, my neighbor down the road. "Angela, there's music blaring from your place," she texted. "Sounds like a party. Is that okay?" My stomach dropped. I called Brittany straight to voicemail. I texted her, "Turn it down now. You promised." No reply. I fired off an apology to Marilyn, promising I'd handle it. By midnight, she texted again. "It's quieter now, but there's a lot of cars parked out front. I couldn't focus on my event prep in Chicago." Brittany had lied again. I kept checking my phone, hoping for an explanation, but nothing came. Saturday morning, it got worse. I was grabbing coffee before a meeting when I opened Instagram. Brittany's story popped up, a video of my house packed with strangers. Lights flashed, music pounded, and people I'd never seen danced on my deck, spilling drinks on my custom dining table. One clip showed Brittany posing on my leather sofa, now slashed with a tear, while her friends tossed confetti that littered my hardwood floors. Another showed someone spray painting a banner for her promo video on my garden fence, trampling the lavender I'd planted. My grandmother's hand-carved side table, my only keepsake from her, was in the background, scorched from a candle they'd left burning. I was gutted. This wasn't a shoot. It was a free-for-all. I called Brittany again, voicemail. I messaged her on Instagram. "What the hell, Brittany, you're destroying my house." No response. My hands shook as I scrolled through more tagged posts. Strangers were using my kitchen as a bar, mixing cocktails on my marble counter. Someone had dragged my abstract art off the wall, leaving it cracked on the floor. A photo showed my garden. My pride churned into mud from people trampling through. I couldn't breathe. I called Lauren Myers, my best friend and a media manager in Seattle. Lauren, she's ruined everything I said, my voice breaking. Look at these videos. Lauren was furious. Get back there, Angela. This is insane. She's got no respect. Then my phone rang. It was Karen Walsh, the manager at the furniture store, where I'd bought my custom pieces. Ms. Harper, we saw your house tagged online, she said. Your sofa dining table and some art. They're damaged beyond repair. We estimate $25,000 to replace. I nearly dropped my phone. $25,000. I authorized a hold on my credit card to cover initial costs, my head spinning. Brittany hadn't just broken a promise, she'd turned my sanctuary into a wrecking zone. I called her one last time, still no answer. I was done waiting. I couldn't focus on my Chicago event. My client noticed my distraction during our walkthrough, asking if I was okay. I lied, saying it was a family issue, but inside I was unraveling. I rebooked my flight to Portland for Sunday morning, paying a fortune for the last-minute change. The plane ride was torture. I kept replaying those Instagram clips, imagining worse with every passing minute. By the time I landed at PDX and rented a car, my knuckles were white from gripping the steering wheel. The 4-hour drive to Cannon Beach felt endless, each mile fueling my dread. When I turned onto the gravel road to my house, the first signs of chaos hit me. Tire tracks scarred my lawn, crushing the seagrass I'd nurtured. Empty cans and plastic cups littered the driveway like some college rager had spilled out. My heart pounded as I parked and stepped onto the deck. The ocean view that usually calmed me now mocked the disaster. The glass door was smudged with handprints and my outdoor chairs were toppled, one leg bent. With shaking hands, I unlocked the front door, bracing for the worst. The stench hit first booze smoke and something sour I couldn't place. My living room was a war zone. The leather sofa I'd saved years for was slashed and stained, stuffing spilling out. My hardwood floors were scratched, littered with confetti and spilled drinks. The abstract art I'd hung with care lay cracked against a wall frame, splintered. My kitchen was worse. Marble counters sticky with liquor cabinet doors, scuffed my blender shattered on the floor. The dining table, my grandmother's heirloom, had burn marks from that candle, its polished surface ruined. Upstairs, my guest rooms were trashed beds, unmade clothes I didn't recognize strewn about, and a broken lamp in the corner. The master bedroom, my private retreat, felt violated. Someone had spilled paint on my duvet, and my jewelry box was open, a necklace missing. I sank onto the stairs, fighting tears. This wasn't just damage, it was a betrayal. I pulled out my phone and started snapping photos, room by room, documenting every scar. I called Brittany again, voicemail as expected. Marilyn Todd stopped by, her face grim. Angela, we called the sheriff Friday night, she said. Brittany claimed she had your permission. They left around 2 a.m., but it started up again Saturday. I apologized, mortified. Marilyn hugged me. This isn't your fault, but it felt like it was. I'd let her in. By afternoon, I called my insurance agent, hoping for some relief. Intentional damage by a guest isn't covered, he said. You'll need to pursue Brittany directly. I hung up numb. $25,000. I texted Lauren again, sending photos. She's going to pay for this, I said. Lauren replied instantly. You need a plan, Angela. Don't let her skate. As the sun set over the Pacific, I sat on my ruined deck staring at the ocean. Brittany had crossed a line, and I wasn't cleaning up her mess alone, not this time. Sitting on my trash deck in Cannon Beach that Sunday evening, I was still reeling from the wreckage Brittany had left behind. $25,000 in damages. My sofa slashed my grandmother's table, burned my sanctuary, violated. I needed answers. I called Mom first, my voice tight as I gripped my phone. Mom, Brittany destroyed my house, I said. The furniture's ruined, the art's broken, it's a disaster. I expected shock, maybe an apology. Instead, Shirley's tone was light, almost offensive. "Oh, Angela, I'm sure it's not that bad." Brittany said she was just filming a creative content for her brand. Things get messy when she's inspired. I froze. Creative, inspired mom. There were dozens of strangers here. I said, my voice rising. They wrecked everything. Shirley paused, then sighed. "Well, she's trying to build something. You've always been so good at fixing things, can't you just handle it?" That dismissal cut deep, like every time she'd excused Brittany's messes growing up. I called Dad next, hoping for backup, but Howard was his usual quiet self. "Sounds like you and your mom should work it out," he said, dodging the issue. I'm sure Brittany didn't mean it. I hung up, my frustration boiling. Neither of them got it or cared. By Monday, I was back in Seattle trying to focus on a client event, but those Instagram videos of Brittany's shoot played on a loop in my head. I texted her directly, "Brittany, you owe me an explanation. Call me." Hours later, she replied with a voice note, her tone breezy. "Sis, chill. It was just a few friends helping with the video. Things got a little wild, okay? I'll clean it up." A few friends. No apology. No accountability. Just excuses. I was livid. I needed perspective, so I called Lauren Myers. Over drinks at her place, I showed her the photos. My torn sofa, cracked art-scorched heirloom table. "Lauren, they're acting like I'm overreacting," I said, my voice cracking. Lauren slammed her glass down. "Angela, this is outrageous. Brittany trashed your home and your mom's enabling her. You can't let them skate on this. You need to make them pay." Her words lit a spark. I wasn't just angry, I was done being the family fixer. Lauren suggested I talk to a lawyer to understand my options. "Get the facts," she said. Then hit them where it hurts. The next day, I met Daniel Hayes, an attorney who specialized in property disputes, at his office in downtown Seattle. I brought my photos, the furniture store's estimate, and screenshots of Brittany's Instagram posts. "Daniel, can I hold her accountable?" I asked. He flipped through the evidence, nodding. "Since Brittany was an authorized guest, she's liable for damages caused by her or her invitees," he said. "Your parents aren't legally responsible, but if Brittany can't pay, you'd need to pursue her directly." I left his office with a plan. Brittany was going to face consequences one way or another. That night, I sat at my laptop and drafted an email to Mom, Dad, and Brittany. I kept it professional, like I was planning a client event. On March 15, 16, my Cannon Beach property sustained $25,000 in damages during Brittany's stay, I wrote. Attached are photos, contractor estimates, and a furniture replacement quote. I expect full compensation within 30 days. I included Daniel's contact info for further discussion and hit send, my heart pounding. I wasn't just asking, I was demanding. The responses trickled in. Brittany texted first. "You're joking." "Right, I'm not paying that." Mom called the next morning, her voice sharp. "Angela, this is ridiculous. You're blowing this out of proportion. It was just a video shoot. You've got the money to fix it." I clenched my jaw. "Mom, it's not about the money," I said. "It's about responsibility." "Brittany wrecked my home." Shirley scoffed. "She's struggling to make her mark. Why can't you support her?" Dad didn't reply at all. Their refusal to see the truth pushed me further into resolve. By Friday, I was back in Portland for our monthly family dinner at Mom and Dad's condo, a tradition Shirley insisted on. I wasn't looking forward to it, but I knew it was my chance to confront them face to face. I arrived at 6 p.m. Carrying a salad I'd made my composure practiced. Mom greeted me with a quick hug, already chattering about her book club. Dad was in his recliner watching a basketball game, barely nodding hello. Brittany showed up 20 minutes late, tossing her purse on the couch. "Traffic was nuts," she said, grabbing a seltzer from the fridge without asking. Her nonchalance made my blood boil, but I held it together. We sat down to Mom's lasagna, the table set with her good plates, a sign she sensed tension. Small talk dragged through the salad course, Brittany dominating with stories about her latest Instagram collab. I waited for a lull, then set my fork down. "We need to talk about the beach house." I said, looking at Brittany. The damages are $25,000. I sent you the estimate. Silence hit the table like a brick. Brittany rolled her eyes. Here we go, she muttered, reaching for bread. It was a shoot, Angela. Things happen. Things happen. I said, my voice steady but sharp. You invited strangers who slashed my sofa, burned my grandmother's table, and trashed my garden. That's not things happen, that's reckless. Mom jumped in before Brittany could respond. Angela, you're making this sound so malicious. Brittany was creating art. You've always been so hard on her. I stared at her, stunned. Mom, you saw the photos, I said. This wasn't art. It was destruction. Dad cleared his throat. Now, Angela, you've got insurance, don't you? This seems like a lot of fuss. I took a deep breath, keeping my cool. Insurance won't cover it, I said. Brittany's liable. She invited those people. Brittany snorted, leaning back. Liable? What is this, a courtroom? It was a party vibe for the video, not some crime. Her defiance snapped something in me. You call wrecking my home a vibe, I said, my voice rising. I worked years for that place, Brittany. You don't get to shrug this off. Mom reached for my hand, her tone softening. Sweetheart, we know you're upset, but with your career, this isn't a big deal. Right, Brittany's trying to build her future. The implication that my success somehow justified Brittany's actions felt like a slap. Dad leaned forward, finally engaging. Let's not escalate this, he said. You've always been the responsible one, Angela. We didn't make a stink when Brittany scratched your car at 16. I couldn't believe it. That's completely different, I said, my voice shaking. I was a kid and I paid for the repairs myself. Brittany's 28, she needs to own this. Brittany smirked, twirling her fork. Not everyone's obsessed with being perfect like you, Angela. Some of us want to live a little. Her accusation that I was jealous of her carefree life pushed me to the edge. The argument spiraled from there. Mom cycled through defenses. Brittany was finding herself I was too materialistic. Dad suggested I was overreacting because I didn't have kids to put things in perspective. Brittany alternated between playing victim and tossing barbs, claiming I'd always resented her spark. Nobody acknowledged the core issue. Brittany had destroyed my property and they expected me to eat the cost. I stood folding my napkin. I sent you the bill, I said, my voice calm but firm. This isn't negotiable. Mom's eyes welled up. You're tearing us apart over money, she said. I looked at her, then Brittany, then Dad. It's not about money, I said. It's about respect. I left the condo, my heart heavy but my resolve stronger. Back in Seattle, I called Lauren to debrief. They're delusional, I said. They think I'll just pay for it. Lauren was blunt. Then make it real for them, Angela. They won't change until they feel it. She was right. That dinner wasn't the end, it was the start of a fight I was ready to finish. After that disastrous family dinner in Portland, I was done with excuses. Brittany had wrecked my Cannon Beach retreat, racking up $25,000 in damages, and Mom was still defending her. I wasn't letting this slide. Back in Seattle, I called Lauren Myers, my best friend, to strategize. Lauren, they think I'll just pay for it, I said, pacing my apartment. I need to make this real. Lauren was all in. Hit them with hard proof, Angela, she said. Get every detail, estimates, photos, legal backup. Then make it public if they don't budge. Her words fueled me. I wasn't just fighting for my house. I was fighting for respect. I spent the next week building my case like I was planning a high-stakes event. I compiled a report. Every damaged item listed: the slashed leather sofa, the cracked abstract art, my grandmother's scorched heirloom table, the trampled garden. I included receipts from my furniture store, photos of the wreckage, and a contractor's estimate for repairs, all totaling $25,000. I called Daniel Hayes, the attorney I'd met, to double-check my approach. Your documentation is solid, Daniel said. Brittany's liable as your guest. Include a demand letter with clear payment terms, 30 days, no negotiation. I drafted the letter that night, keeping it cold and professional. Due to damages caused on March 15, 16, Brittany Harper is responsible for $25,000. Payment is due by April 15th. Failure to comply will result in legal action. I attached the report and saved it as a PDF ready to present. Lauren pushed me further. They won't take it seriously unless you show you mean business, she said over coffee. Set up a meeting at your mom's place, lay it all out. I nodded, feeling a mix of nerves and determination. I texted Mom, Dad, and Brittany requesting a meeting at their Portland condo the following Sunday at 3 p.m. We need to resolve the beach house issue, I wrote. Mom replied, "Let's not make this a big deal, Angela." Brittany didn't respond. Dad just said, "Fine." Their dismissal only hardened my resolve. I prepared like I was walking into a client pitch. I printed 3 copies of my report, bound them neatly, and rehearsed my points in front of a mirror. I chose a sharp blazer and slacks, projecting calm authority. Lauren coached me on staying firm. "Don't let them guilt-trip you," she said. "You're not the bad guy here." Sunday morning, I drove to Portland, my stomach in knots but my mind clear. This wasn't just about money. It was about breaking a lifetime of being the family doormat. At 3 p.m., I arrived at Mom and Dad's condo, report in hand. Shirley opened the door, her smile tight. "Angela, you didn't need to make this so formal," she said, gesturing to my binder. Dad was on the couch flipping through a car magazine. Brittany slouched at the kitchen island, scrolling her phone. I ignored the tension and set my binder on the coffee table. "Thanks for meeting," I said, my voice steady. "This is about the $25,000 in damages Brittany caused at my beach house." I opened the binder, sliding copies to each of them. "Here's the evidence, photos, receipts, contractor estimates, and a legal opinion from Daniel Hayes, my attorney." Brittany scoffed, tossing her copy onto the table. "This is absurd, Angela," she said, crossing her arms. "It was a video shoot, not some demolition. You're acting like I burned the place down." I locked eyes with her. "You invited strangers who slashed my sofa, burned my grandmother's table, and trashed my garden, Brittany," I said. "That's not a shoot, that's reckless." Mom jumped in, her voice pleading. "Angela, let's calm down. Brittany's trying to build her brand. Can't we work this out as a family?" I shook my head. "Mom, I've tried. She hasn't even apologized." Dad set his magazine down, frowning. "You're being too harsh, Angela. You've got a good job. Why make a fuss over this?" His words stung, but I was ready. "It's not about my job, Dad," I said. "It's about accountability. Brittany's actions have consequences." Brittany stood, her face red. "You're just jealous I'm chasing my dreams while you're stuck planning boring events," she shouted, storming toward the door. "I'm not paying a dime." She slammed it behind her, leaving a heavy silence. Mom's eyes welled up. "Angela, you're breaking our family over this," she said, her voice trembling. I swallowed hard, keeping my composure. "Mom, I'm asking for fairness," I said. "The bill is due in 30 days. I'm not backing down." Dad sighed, rubbing his temples. "This feels like a setup," he muttered. I pointed to the binder. "It's all there. Call the contractor, talk to Daniel. The facts don't lie." Mom flipped through the pages, her hands shaking. "This is too much," she whispered. "Brittany can't afford this." I nodded. "Then we'll figure out a plan, but someone's paying." The meeting ended with no resolution, just Mom's tears and Dad's grumbles. Back in Seattle, I was drained but unwavering. Lauren had another idea. "Go public," she said. "Post about it online, not to shame them, but to show you're serious." I hesitated. Family drama on social media felt risky, but Brittany's defiance left me no choice. I crafted a post on Instagram, keeping it factual. "My beach house was damaged during a video shoot costing $25,000. I've asked for accountability, but so far, nothing." Thoughts? I included a photo of my ruined sofa, blurred to avoid naming Brittany directly. The post blew up. Friends, colleagues, even strangers weighed in, most backing me. "That's unacceptable," one commented. "Make them pay," said another. The pressure worked. By Wednesday, Brittany texted, "You're embarrassing me, Angela. Take that post down." I replied, "Pay the bill and I will." She didn't respond. Thursday night, Mom called, her voice heavy. "Angela, I saw your post," she said. "This has gone too far." I braced myself for another defense, but she surprised me. "I've been too easy on Brittany," she admitted. "I'll cover the damages from my retirement savings." I was stunned. "Mom, you don't have to," I said. "Brittany should pay." She sighed. "She won't, and I can't let this destroy us." I was wrong to dismiss you. I didn't know what to say. Part of me felt relief, but another part ached. Mom was paying for Brittany's mistakes just like always. The next day, I got a bank notification, $25,000 transferred from Shirley's account. No note, no explanation, just the payment. I called Lauren, still processing. "She actually paid," I said. "But Brittany's off the hook again." Lauren was firm. "You made your point, Angela," she said. "They know you're not playing now." I stared at the photos of my wrecked house, a mix of anger and resolve settling in. The money was a start, but this wasn't over. I needed more than a payout, I needed change. With Mom's payment of $25,000 in my account, the repairs on my Cannon Beach retreat began in early April. Contractors replaced the slashed leather sofa with a sturdier one in deep navy, refinished the scratched hardwood floors, and repainted the scuffed walls. My garden, once a muddy mess, was replanted with fresh lavender and seagrass. The abstract art was swapped for new pieces, bold but practical. My grandmother's heirloom table, scarred by Brittany's candle, was restored by a local craftsman. Marilyn Todd recommended its burn marks sanded into a subtle patina that gave it character. By June, the house looked better than before, stronger somehow. But it didn't feel the same. It wasn't just my sanctuary anymore. It was a battleground I'd fought to reclaim. I decided to rent out the guest rooms to vacationers, turning my loss into income. It wasn't about the money, it was about moving forward. The repairs weren't the only thing I was rebuilding. After that Instagram post went viral, I couldn't stop thinking about the comments, strangers sharing their own stories of family betrayal, of being taken for granted. It hit me, I wasn't alone. Lauren Myers, my best friend, saw it too. "You should write about this, Angela," she said over wine one night. "Not just the house, everything. The boundaries, the drama, the growth." I laughed it off at first, but the idea stuck. In July, I started a blog setting boundaries, pouring out my journey, Brittany's wreckage, Mom's dismissal, my fight for respect. I wrote about the guilt of standing up to family, the fear of being the bad guy, and the freedom of owning my worth. The response was overwhelming. Readers emailed me their stories, siblings who'd borrowed money and never repaid, parents who played favorites. My posts hit thousands of views, and I felt a purpose I hadn't expected. This wasn't just my story anymore, it was theirs too. My relationship with Mom started to shift slowly. In August, she called asking to meet for lunch at a cafe halfway between Portland and Seattle. I braced for another defense of Brittany, but Shirley surprised me. She looked tired, her usual sparkle dimmed. "Angela, I've been thinking," she said, stirring her tea. "I failed you by always protecting Brittany. I thought I was helping her, but I hurt you." Her words hit hard. I'd waited years to hear them. "Mom, I just wanted you to see me," I said, my voice catching. "I worked so hard, and it felt like you didn't care." She reached for my hand, eyes wet. "I care," she said. "I'm sorry. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start." We didn't hug or cry like in the movies, but we talked, really talked, for the first time in years. Brittany was a different story. She stayed distant, her texts short and rare. I saw her Instagram, new outfits, new collabs, no hint of remorse. But in September, a message popped up. "Hey sis, sorry about the house. I didn't mean for it to go that far. It was small. No grand apology, but it was something." I didn't reply right away, I wasn't ready. Lauren said it was progress, but I wasn't so sure. Brittany had a long way to go, and I wasn't holding my breath. Still, that text lingered a crack in her usual defiance. Dad Howard took his own approach. One Saturday in October, he showed up at my beach house unannounced, his pickup truck parked crooked in the driveway. He carried a framed painting, a seascape, waves crashing under a gray sky painted by him. "Thought your place could use this," he muttered, setting it by the new sofa. Dad wasn't big on words, but his hobby was art, and this was no small gesture. "Thanks, Dad," I said, my throat tight. He wandered the house, inspecting the repairs, nodding quietly. "Looks good," he said before leaving. That painting now hangs in my living room, a silent bridge between us. Professionally, I was thriving. Standing up to my family gave me a new edge at work. In November, I pitched a massive corporate event to a tech giant, facing down their pushy CEO with a confidence I hadn't had before. "This is our plan, and it's non-negotiable," I said, echoing the resolve I'd found with Brittany. They signed the contract, and my boss gave me a raise. That strength spilled into my personal life, too. I started dating Ryan, a graphic designer who respected my boundaries instead of testing them. For the first time, I wasn't trying to fix someone else, I was building something real. The beach house itself transformed. Renting it out brought new energy. Guests left glowing reviews calling it cozy yet modern. I hosted friends there too, like Lauren and my colleague, Laura Mitchell, for wine nights on the deck. Marilyn Todd and her husband became regular visitors, sharing stories over coffee. The house wasn't just a symbol of my fight anymore. It was a place of connection, of life. I still felt the sting of Brittany's betrayal when I saw that heirloom table, but it didn't define the space or me. Thanksgiving marked a turning point. Mom hosted at the condo, and for the first time in months, we all sat together. Me, Brittany, Mom, Dad. Shirley cooked her usual spread, but she didn't play the martyr about it. Dad asked about my blog, a rare show of interest. Brittany brought a store-bought pie, showing up on time, a small miracle. She was quieter, less defensive, though we didn't talk about the house. I caught her glancing at me during dinner like she wanted to say more, but didn't. I didn't push. Small steps were enough for now. The next morning, Mom joined me on the condo's balcony, wrapped in a scarf against the November chill. "I read your blog," she said, her voice soft. "You're helping people, Angela." "I'm proud." I looked at her, surprised. "Thanks, Mom," I said. She smiled, a real one. "Your grandmother always said to stand up for yourself," she added. "I think she'd like what you're doing." That moment felt like closure, not perfect, but honest. Mom was learning, and so was I. Looking back, this whole mess with Brittany and the beach house wasn't just about $25,000. It was about learning my worth, about drawing lines I'd never dared to before. Boundaries aren't walls. They're foundations for relationships that matter. I still slip sometimes, feeling guilty for saying no, but each time I walk into my beach house, I'm reminded of the strength I found. It's not just repaired, it's mine on my terms. I wonder about your journey. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family who crossed the line? What pushed you to stand firm? Share your story below. Knowing we're not alone makes all the difference. If this resonated, hit like and subscribe for more real talk about family boundaries and finding your voice. Thanks for being here. Let's keep this conversation going.